So today we're going to make a tortilla española, and yes, you can too. Hello, today we are going to make a tortilla española, and my name is Carolyn, and I know how to make a tortilla just because I've done this 10,000 times, right? So, but I have this great book called The Foods and Wines of Spain, Penelope Casas, and this video will come with that recipe. So, first of all, you need your main accoutrements. You need a cast iron pan, probably 9-inch. You need a bowl for the eggs, and you need 4 large potatoes. But since I'm not sure these are 4 large, there are a lot of little ones, we're gonna peel all of them and slice them up, and then we'll see if we need fewer or more. And then onion, olive oil, lots of olive oil, a cup of olive oil, I know, it's a lot. 4 eggs, I always use organic local eggs. My favorite spatula, and a knife, a potato peeler, and of course a cutting board. So first of all, I'm going to peel some potatoes, and you don't need to see that. We'll be back in a moment. So the potatoes are peeled, so is the onion. And before I used to chop potatoes, and now I use a mandolin. And if you're really careful, and you should be very careful, you can do really thin slices on the mandolin. I use number 4. The other thing is I need to say that this apron was given to me by my mom, who is gone, but I always like to make tortillas because I use a spatula from my mother-in-law, a pan that I've had forever, and also a yellow mixing bowl from my mom too. So next time we're here, we'll have thinly sliced potatoes. So we're ready to start frying the potatoes and the onions, and it's basically we have a cup of olive oil, and I usually heat the pan first before I put the olive oil in, and a whole cup, and then you smell. You can smell that aroma when it's ready. You smell that it's almost ready, because you really, when you put the potatoes in, you really want it to sizzle. It's not ready, but I will. We are gonna put the open up the egg, crack the eggs in. So I think what I'll do is, while we're waiting for that to heat up, I'll crack the eggs in here. Oh my goodness, they're super yellow because they're organic, and they are actually from a friend of mine that raises chickens. So I'll just look at that. Look how yellow those yolks are. Can you see? Yeah? Pretty yellow. All right. So let's see. Quiet on the set. We'll see if the potatoes sizzle. I don't know if you can hear them, but they're sizzling. So I'm going to put the potatoes in first, and then I'm going to layer the onions on top. And, you know, if you look at this, it's basically, wow, that's a lot of olive oil. But you'll see you can pour off the olive oil afterwards. And again, I used 4 large potatoes. That's what the recipe calls for, but it was probably like, 12 little ones. But you'll see, what you want to do is have the pan at least 3/4 filled with the potatoes, and most importantly, you need a pot holder. So I'm going to just mix these around for a little bit, and then I'm going to add the potato, the onions on top, and then I'll start mixing them around too. You know, from start to finish, it's usually about, I would say 30 minutes, and that includes peeling the onions and peeling the potatoes. And so you just spend time making sure, this is something you can't be checking your email or, you know, talking on the phone. You really need to be focused in on cooking the potatoes and onions. So we'll check back in a little bit. So I'm still stirring away. You know, it's pretty full. Again, you want to put the heat on high, and you having so much olive oil in there and the heat on high keeps it from sticking to the pan. So, you know, you can also chop it, but the most important, chop potatoes or chop the onions, but I think it's quicker with a mandolin. And again, the most important is the 1 cup of olive oil, as well as on high and continually stirring, and making sure that the olive oil is super hot when you put in the potatoes. The Tortilla Española has a wonderful history. I think it's one of the earliest foods in Spain that was written in literature. And if you go into a restaurant or a bar in Spain, you'll always see tortilla on the counter. And it's these are called, it's a typical tapa. Tapas are, as everyone knows, hors d'oeuvres. And so I've heard the story is that they would put, they're called tapas because they would tapar, which is in Spanish, it's to top. You could put a piece of tortilla on top of your glass, and that would keep the flies out of your wine glass. So if you had a glass of sherry and we're waiting like when you go into the bar to have a little aperitif. So don't hold me to that, but I kind of like that story. So we're still cooking, and I just want to say there are different ways of making this. My original tortilla I met when I was living in Spain, and my dear friend Victoria showed me how to do it. And I made tortillas. I look at tortillas as being a comfort food. You know, it's great because it's just eggs, potatoes, and onions. And in the recipe that goes with this video, Penelope Casas says to layer the potatoes and onions, but I never did that. But so, you know, again, there's so many different ways of doing things. We've been cooking here for about 10 minutes. I think all told, it'll take about 20 minutes before the potatoes are really tender and ready to put in the egg mixture, which we have here that I'll beat, and we'll put some salt into it. So we're still frying and stirring. I didn't take any break. I look at this as I don't want to see this, the slices in full. It becomes more like a mush. And when it becomes a mush, then your potatoes are ready to be put into the egg mixture. And we can go from there. So we're getting there again. And they're almost mushy. But like I say, I have not stopped stirring them because you really don't want the potatoes to stick to the pan. But I will take a moment and I'll beat up the egg. You know what I did? I took my potatoes and onions in the refrigerator, but I specifically took them out, potatoes, onions, and the eggs, to get to room temperature. And I just think that the tortilla tastes better when you cook at the room temperature. So how lovely this color is. So we're almost ready. So we're really almost ready, and if you can see, it looks mushy, and that's a good thing. So we're gonna keep cooking this a little bit longer. The eggs are ready to go, and I forgot another utensil that you need is a spatula. This from a dear friend in Edinburgh. Bye. Now what I want to do is I don't want to have a ton of olive oil in the mixture, so I'm going to turn the stove off. I'm going to angle the pan like this, and you can see how a lot of the olive oil is going into the bottom of the pan. So you bring your bowl over, and you know, again, I've heard people, what they do is they'll put the potato, oh, you know what I forgot to do? Salt. I usually put the salt into the eggs. And then here we got to start all over again and get the olive oil out of the potatoes. But I've heard what people have done in the past is leave the egg mixture to soak in the eggs for 15 minutes. I used to do that, but not anymore, because I want to do a dish that's start to finish in 30 minutes. And if you let the potatoes soak, it's not going to be 30 minutes. So, you know, I'm seeing that there's a lot of olive oil still in the pan, but that's okay, because it will, when you can always soak up the olive oil after it's cooked, and you'll see when we do that. So I'm going to turn that back on, and I'm going to make sure that the eggs and potatoes are all mixed and ready to go. So you take the eggs and you put it in here, and you make sure all the egg mixture is in the pan. You put it around a little bit like that, and then you start to shake it. And you go back and forth like this, probably for a good 5 minutes. I don't think you need to watch me shake the pan. We'll be back in a moment. So as you can see, we've probably been moving back and forth. As I was just commenting that the tortilla is it's a motion food. So what you're going to see is I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to put my cutting board on top of it like this, and I'm going to go to the sink, and I'm going to flip it like that, and then what I'll do is I'll put it back here and turn this back on. And I think I cooked it a little bit longer than necessary, but I'm going to put it back in the pan. And this is where it's really important. You got to continue to shake it so that it continues to have your the form of a tortilla. So here we are again. It's ready to flip again. So I'm going to take the cutting board. Don't use plastic because it'll melt on the frying pan. So I'm going to put it back here, and then I'm going to flip it again like this and let it drip out, and then you'll see the bottom of this, and I'll flip it back again like that, move it around a little bit, and then I really like taking a plate, but you know what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it back on here, because the plate that I had is plastic, and normally I don't do it like this. I'm going to flip it back onto the cutting board, and voila! you have a tortilla española. And one last thing that I like to do is I like to soak up the olive oil. I think I mentioned that during the preparation. I like to soak up the olive oil so it's not super oily. So I'll take some paper towels and just pat it and let it soak up a little bit, and then you're ready to go.